Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Salman Anjum once again at my YouTube channel, and this time with another organ system. So last time we have defined about digestive system as well as respiratory system. So this time we are going to talk about muscular system. As the name is indicating, this system is about your muscles. So muscles, they are majorly composed of proteins, and where they are present in your body, of course they are present over your bones. They are covering your bones. That means they are not merely covering the bones, but they are also attached with your bones. And what is the role of bones then? The role of the bone is to basically to provide you support, and also they help in movement. But do you think that without muscles your bones can give you a support like movement? No. So that means if your bones has to move, they really require muscles to be attached with them. That is why muscular system is so important, that every kind of movement in the body is basically due to your muscles. So muscles, they come in different types. For example, the muscles which are attached to bones. For example, the muscles which are present in your heart. So inside heart there is no bone, and of course there is movement happening, but that kind of movement looks quite different than the movement performed by our legs. So have you ever thought that the heart, it also gets tired or not? So that means there is some difference in the type of muscles your heart has. Exactly the same way, what about the muscles present in your stomach? So stomach is also doing something. It is also moving very slightly, as I mentioned last time, that it can squeeze your food very gently. So that kind of movement is coming because your stomach contains some sort of muscles. So that means, so the muscles which are present in your stomach, they look quite different than the muscles present in your heart, as well as the muscles who are present alongside your bones. So we are going to discuss about multiple types of muscles and what muscles they do, and how physics basically explains the movement, and then we'll finally discuss about different disorders related to muscular system. If we move on, as I mentioned before, that the muscles, they are composed of special proteins, and those special proteins, they are called contractile proteins. As the name is indicating, that these proteins can basically contract. Contraction means that they can slide over each other and they can reduce their distance with each other. So hence, as a result of their sliding over each other, they create contraction. And because of contraction, our arms, our fingers, they can bend. We can bend. Our muscles, their proteins basically, they pull each other, and this way they give us the movement. So that thing is called contraction, and that is coming because of contractile proteins. So as a result of those proteins sliding effect, the muscles can contract as well as relax, and finally they help in our movement. As I mentioned before, there are multiple types of muscles like skeletal muscle, heart muscles, blood vessels, as well as stomach. They all contain different kind of muscles. So before moving forward, I would further explain, I would stress on this thing, which is contraction and relaxation. So if you think about your arm, how the way you can bend your arm towards yourself. So for example, if you are having your arm in fully stretched form, and then you want to bend it upward, so that bending is basically happening because of the proteins who are present on the top of your arm, and they are getting closer and they're pulling each other, and as a result your arm is lifted upward and the distance between your arm and shoulder is reduced. That means that is what is happening there? Contraction. But what is happening underneath your arm? As a result of the contraction, the underneath muscles, they are getting relaxed. For example, you can look at the whiteboard. Let's say this is someone, a human, and this is his arm in a fully stretched form. This is the hand, so this is the elbow. So this is fully stretched this time. So you can say that it is in the top muscles, they are in the relaxed state. So when this person tries to bend this, so he would uplift its arm this way. So this uplifting is basically happening because the muscles who are present at this place to here, they are getting closer, they are pulling each other. So you are getting contraction, and as a result you can uplift your arm, while the muscles which are present underneath your arm, they are now extended, and as a result they are relaxed. So if the top muscles, they are getting contracted, the opposite muscles, they're getting relaxed. So once this person again tries to stretch its arm, so this time these muscles, they would be pulling each other and getting closer. So these muscles would be contracting, and as a result the top muscles, they would be relaxing and your arm would be stretched. So basically muscles, they work in opposite direction. The top muscles as well as the lower muscles. When top muscles, they are contracting, the lower muscles, they are relaxing. And when these would be contracting, the upward muscles, they would be relaxing. Okay, so we move on to the next slide. Right, so here we are discussing about different type of muscles. There are 3 types of muscles, namely smooth muscles, cardiac muscles, as well as skeletal muscles. So the smooth muscles, they are of digestive system, digestive tract muscles, as well as of blood vessels. There are multiple kind of blood vessels, for example arteries, for example veins, for example blood capillaries. So their muscles basically, they are called smooth muscles. And the muscles of the digestive tract, for example the muscles of stomach, for example muscles of intestine, they are called smooth muscles. Then cardiac muscles. Cardiac muscles, as the name is indicating, they are the muscles of the heart. And then finally skeletal muscles, as the name is indicating that these muscles, they are linked with skeletal system or with the bones basically. So all of these 3 different types, they muscles, they look different, and as well as they behave differently. That is why they have been categorized differently. And then we also know that our heart muscles, they never rest, they never get tired. In the same way, our stomach muscles, they also never rest, they never get tired. While our skeletal muscles, for example when you are running or walking too much, your leg muscles, for example, they get tired or they get fatigued. So that means there is a difference between type of muscles. So the muscles can be voluntary or muscles can be involuntary. Some muscles, they behave or follow your desire, and other muscles, they don't follow what you talk to them or what you say or what you order to them. Then you count for me who are voluntary muscles. The skeletal muscles, basically they are voluntary. For example, if someone is calling you and if you don't want to walk towards that person, you can just deny. So your muscles, your leg muscles would follow your decision. While the involuntary muscles, for example the muscles of your heart, they would never listen to you, they would continue beating. In the same way, if you have eaten something So you cannot order your stomach not to digest something. Of course, they would digest. So that means there are voluntary as well as involuntary type of muscles. So now you can apply this knowledge on the type of muscles who are voluntary and involuntary. Smooth muscles, they are involuntary muscles. Cardiac muscles, they are involuntary muscles. While skeletal muscles, they are voluntary muscles. But there is a little exception to this. For example, blinking of the eyes. So the blinking of the eyes is happening, according to your wish, according to your desire. Whenever you want, you can just blink your eyes. But if you force your eyes to stay open for so long, then automatically that blinking would happen. So that means the same muscle would become involuntary at that point. So it is saying skeletal muscles could be voluntary or involuntary. For example, blinking of the eyes. Okay, so on this slide, they are showing different type of muscles and they're showing their cells basically. And at cellular level, they all look different. Like this is skeletal muscles slide, this is smooth muscles microscopic slide, and this is the cardiac muscles microscopic imaging. So they all are looking different at their cellular level. And how the way the muscles are attached with the bones? They are attached with the bones with some glue-like material, and that glue-like material is called tendon. Tendon is basically a fibrous connective tissue which is connecting the muscles with the bone, and it is connecting the muscles with the bone very strongly. You cannot just remove the muscles from the bones just randomly or too easily. So this attachment is because of tendon. And here we are explaining how the way tendon is working. Tendon is basically supporting the muscle attachment with the bones, and this way the muscles, when they contract, they get shortened and you get a movement. And when the muscles they are relaxing, the bones are moving away, as I explained before in the previous slide, how the way your arm is stretched or how the way your arm is bent. So contraction is bringing the muscles closer, while relaxing is taking the muscles away from them. So this way you are getting bending of the arm or stretching of the arm. Since muscular system is working with the skeletal system, so this is overall called as musculoskeletal system. So when two things like muscles and bones, they work together, as a result they give us movement. Because muscles alone, they cannot give us complete movement without bones, and bones alone, they also cannot give us movement. So they both systems, they work together. As I explained before, that muscles, they work in pair. There are flexor muscles as well as extensor muscles. So the muscles who contract and they bend a part of the body, they are called flexor muscles, while the muscles who are giving us stretching or straightening the part of the body, they are called extensor muscle, because they are extending our body part. So this way the muscles, they are placed in pairs opposite to each other. When flexor is working, extensor is not working. Extensor is working, then flexor is waiting. So this way they work together. So here they are showing how the way your arm is bent. The muscles who are present at the top of your arm is called biceps, while the muscles underneath your arm, they are called triceps. So bicep is a flexor muscle because it can pull your arm, and as a result your arm is bent, while tricep is an extensor muscle. It helps in the extension of your arm. And secondly, the muscles as well as the bone, they work together and they work like a lever. So the attachment of the muscles with the bone is very critical. There are many types of muscles present. For example, even in your arm, there are multiple layers of muscles present, and all layers, they are attached at certain point with your bone. They're not just attached too randomly with your bone. they are attached at certain points, and that attachment of your muscles at a particular point on the bone is very important. And then it becomes like a liver. So what is the role of liver? The role of the liver is to basically um, reduce the amount of energy spent for a large amount of work done. So liver is helping you. For example, you can use a liver to lift a very heavy material or a heavy stone or a heavy car. So liver is making things easier. So but you remember that where you place your liver under the car, that positioning of the liver under the car is very, very critical. Or where you are putting the effort and where there is resistance on the liver, that positioning is so critical to give you the real liver like effect. So that means that is achieved by the exact or particular positioning or attachment of your muscle with the bone. If wrong attachment is there, so of course you would have to spend more amount of energy to perform a small task. But fortunately our muscles are nicely positioned with the bones. So here on this slide they are showing multiple type of livers, and in the same way this can be applied to our muscles. So muscles are differently because we have a very complex body, and there are multiple kind of muscles present in our body and they are working differently, so their attachment is quite particular with the bones. So this way they give us a liver like effect. For example, when you're walking, have you ever thought that you are in pain when lifting your leg, because legs are quite heavy, but we don't feel it and we just continue walking smoothly? Have you ever thought as if when you are bending your arm, as if it is too difficult to lift up your heavy arm? No, it is not difficult. We just don't even feel the weight of our arm. But think about of a situation when your muscles they are torn, if there is some inflammation of the tendon, at that time you can feel the importance of the muscles. At that time you would be unable to even move your arm or leg, and you would feel how heavy your legs are, how heavy your arm can be. But we don't feel it when things are working normally. So fortunately it is because of the positioning of the muscle with the bone. So that positioning is called the fulcrum. Just like fulcrum works in the liver, exactly the same way that particular attachment of muscle works with the bone. So here again they are showing us different kind of livers in our body. For example, first class liver, third class liver, second class liver. So you can just categorize them as, for example, the bending of our neck is a first class liver, the bending of our arm is a third class liver. For example, when you just are walking or putting the weight on your feet, they are lifting a lot of weight so easily, or you're bending your feet or ankle to lift up the whole body, so it's a second class liver. So this way our body has multiple kind of muscles and their attachment, and they can be classified as multiple kind of livers. And then what you can do to increase the strength of your muscles, depending upon the type of muscles you have, you can perform different type of exercises. For example, you go to gym, so which kind of exercise you are doing there? Of course both type, but majorly, for example, resistance exercise. You are trying to increase the skeletal muscle strength. You are lifting up some weight and you are pulling things, and this way you are strengthening your biceps as well as your triceps. So it is called a resistance exercise. And of course when you are running, when you are basically playing different sports where you get exhausted, for example you are playing tennis, you are playing you're doing sprinting or any sprinting kind of exercise, for example badminton, for example basketball. So in that case you are basically strengthening your heart, you are strengthening your, you're increasing your breathing and your heart is beating strongly at that point, so you are increasing the strength of your heart muscles. So this kind of exercise, they are called aerobic exercises. So this way, by having a mixture of exercises, you can increase the strength of your multiple kind of muscles. So that's why exercises are there, really good for your health. And finally, any disorders to the muscles or to the muscular system. Strain, it is a condition when the tendon in the body is stretched or torn. Now you know about the importance of tendon. So when tendon is overstretched or muscle is overstretched, of course you start to get pain and muscle would be unable to perform its task. Other condition is tendinitis. Tendinitis is the inflammation of tendon. If there is inflammation in the tendon, of course, again, muscles, they get weaker with their attachment to bone, and of course, muscles, they would be unable to pull that bone where there is tendinitis. And some people, they are using anabolic steroids. Anabolic steroids, they basically, of course, they increase the strength of muscles, but of course, there are many associated side effects and some problems which can be too serious. That's why it is not that good to take anabolic steroids, or they should be taken if really required after consulting a proper physician or an expert. Otherwise, they may be dangerous for the heart or for the muscles. And you know about muscle fatigue. Muscle fatigue is just a situation or a condition that happens when you are doing extra exercise, or your muscles, when they get extra tired. So you start to feel as if you are unable to move your muscles. For example, when you are running for too long, so your legs, they don't listen to you and they stop moving. So that means your muscles, leg muscles, they are fatigued at that point. So the reason is that there is the accumulation of lactic acid. In fact, it's a good situation. Accumulation of lactic acid is basically stopping the movement of muscles. It is basically stopping the movement of muscle because the body is thinking, body has calculated that there are very less amount of ATP present, and if you would continue doing exercise, so there would come a situation when all the ATP would be over. So it is better for the body to stop the movement forcefully, and that is why there is lactic acid accumulation, and that lactic acid forces your muscles not to move. And the reason of production of lactic acid is basically when your muscles, they are not getting enough amount of oxygen than required. So what happens? The body shifts to another kind of metabolism, which is called anaerobic respiration, and as a result of that, the body starts to produce lactic acid. And this means that when too much lactic acid is producing, that means you're doing exercise in the less amount of oxygen available, which is a bad condition. So ultimately, lactic acid would have to stop your muscle movement, and then you start to do rest, and after some time this lactic acid is removed from the body, and then again the normal services of the muscles, they are resumed. So it was all about muscular system. So again, if you have any questions, so please do not hesitate to ask me. Thank you so much.